This is Deborah Johnson for Women at Halftime, and I'm passionate about helping women use their untapped skills, resources, and talents to create their ideal work and lifestyle, making a difference in their second half. Well, hello, this is Deborah Johnson, and our subject today is Get Beyond Fear to Take Opportunity During a Crisis. And I inserted this particular message today because it's so very, very relevant. We are in the middle of a pandemic. There's no script or history to go by for what we are going through currently. It's entirely new. It's new to me. It's new to our generation. It's new to really our world. The sort of principle of staying home is not as new for those who have gone through a world war and have had to be sequestered and hiding out. But really, for something like this, for a virus to take over, it's very, very different because stores are closed, gyms, restaurants, shopping malls, everything is closed and there's nowhere to go. And it's really a time in history where we have to kind of readjust quite a bit. We are in a country, in the United States, we are in a country of freedoms. And it feels like, of course, that we're in a lockdown. Going to the grocery store is the new outing of the day. And my husband loves to do that. Greg, he just, is there an excuse to go to the grocery store? But there are those who can't even sit on the beach and watch a sunset right now or go paddleboarding in the ocean. That seems so strange because they would still be isolated, but these are the kind of restrictions that have been put on us. And we are told it's for the common good. And I believe much of this is because we have warded off much of the crowding of our hospitals, especially. But this needs to be for a very short time. And the big question is, will we get beyond all of this and how fast? And what is the new normal? And the title of today, I entitled it To Get Beyond the Fear, because there's a certain amount of fear in going forward. Are we going to ever be the same? And I strongly believe that we can move forward, but we have to get beyond unhealthy fear. There's a fear of even going outside for some people right now, and there's a fear of going outside without a mask. What about taking a flight or going on a cruise, eating out? Are you sure all of that food is safe? We are ordering out, but are we going to eat somewhere? There's a new set of standards, a set of rules that we feel like everything has to be a little bit different going forward. Now, fear has the power to hold us back, and we can easily give in to that power, and we can easily give that power to others as well, or to a victim mindset. We live in America. We are a free country with freedoms that have been bought and fought for with much blood, war, and sacrifice by our ancestors and many of our great leaders. And really, the time has come to really stand up to that fear. There is uncertainty ahead as I am producing this session. No one knows how long this is going to last. And we have a media that feeds on this sensationalism. It's always been the case. I mean, what you have to create something that people want to listen to. Is there something new? But how do you listen and who do you listen to? It's that same story of that gloom and doom. And how are you coping with this? I know many of my contacts and my friends they're being very, very limited in the amount of media they are listening to because there's so much of that. But I even am checking in daily thinking, okay, is it going to end yet? Is it going to end? And I'm an introvert. And I'm still feeling that way. I can't imagine for those who are just so very social, that it's a restlessness that we have. And you have to go within yourself at this point. And this is really where I found myself going today. In what do we really believe? And what do I really believe? And what do you really believe? I am producing this episode. And again, I've changed out some of my episodes because this is so very, very relevant right now. And I felt like I needed to produce this one specifically on the fear and opportunity. And it's right around Easter. Now, I'm not sure what you believe, but I'm going back to a message I heard in a little church when Greg and I were first married. And it was all around facing fear. This was the Easter message. And the whole message was, when you take away the fear of death, you really start to live. So let me say that again. When you take away the fear of death, you really start to live. Well, how do you do that? You have to believe in something. You have to believe there's a power bigger than yourself. Now, I believe in the story of Easter. To me, there's tremendous hope in the fact that the power of a resurrection took away the fear of eternal death. Now think about this. Don't turn me off yet. I don't care really how you believe at this point, but don't turn me off yet. It doesn't matter how or what you believe. Realize how powerful that principle is. Go right back to that principle. If you're really, truly not afraid of dying, you're free to live. Now, I had the opportunity to be with and care for my father during the last 11 weeks of his life. This is after he suddenly became ill. He was never ill in his whole life. He was never ill. He was a captain in the fire department. He trained the firemen going through. He cared for others, so many others. But when he became ill, he had 11 weeks. And I had an opportunity to be by his side and care for him a lot of that time. And he told me at the beginning of his illness, he said, "I'm not afraid of dying. I know where I'm going, but I really like living." Wow. He really, truly loved living, and he was freed up from the anguish of worry, of panic, and stress because he wasn't afraid of dying. He was free. And he lived like that. That entire 11 weeks, he lived like that. It was a joy. Every day was a joy to him, and he enjoyed every moment of it. And he was a joy to be around. In the midst of all of those oxygen lines, the medication, the bed sores that ended up covering his back, I vividly remember the time I was there on one of the first nights we were putting him on oxygen, and I hear him on the little monitor, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe." And I panicked. I am not a nurse. I am not medically prepared to do this. And he gave me instructions to give him oxygen. Basically, I saved his life that night. There was pressure, but after he had those first sips of that oxygen, that smile on his face, he loved living. My father, who had been so strong all of his whole life, now yet so dependent, yet joyful. He wasn't afraid. So how do you get beyond your fear and take advantage of some of the opportunity ahead? How are you going to take that mental leap to go beyond fear, to create and to grasp opportunity? Well, I'm going to leave you with 5 ways in this episode, and I hope they really help you. I hope they encourage you. Part of what I do is inspire. I've done that for so many years, and a lot of teaching is not just content. It is caught. It's not just taught, it's caught. And I hope that you catch some of that passion today, some of that message and the opportunity ahead to really take advantage of this time in history that you really have a great opportunity personally. So how are you going to get beyond that fear? Number 1, identify your fear and visualize it. there is healthy fear, of course, the fear that holds you back from jumping off a cliff. I am not fond of heights, and when I come to the edge of a cliff, my first instinct is not to jump. Okay, that is healthy fear, definitely. But there's much unhealthy fear, and it's like a monster trying to squelch your dreams. It causes you to rethink most everything. It's the monster that our kids, when they're little and they think, oh, there's a monster under my bed, and they're just thinking of this big hairy monster, and there's nothing. You have to turn on the light and you have to say, no, there's nothing here. Look, there's nothing here. And that can influence every step you take if you think there's just this monster ahead. But visualize it. In fact, think of it as a hungry little monster. And if you're not careful, in fact, it can eat you up inside. Put that sort of visual image to it that you say, this is just a little monster that's under my bed. I need to just put a picture of that monster. That is unhealthy fear. Number 2, you have to choose to move forward. Now, you can visualize that fear, but if you don't make that choice to move forward, you're going to stay stuck. You have to be prudent. And of course, we have been prudent and we've been careful even around our home. I mean, we have cleaned. I think my kitchen has never been so clean. We've washed our hands. We've been outside keeping distance. But I've also decided, and we've decided, not to stay stuck. That's a choice. That is a decision. And little baby steps are fine. But I've started doing some extra things even in my business that I was not planning on doing because there were some real needs that I was finding were popping up in some of the sessions I was on. So I just produced a free webinar on basic website design and tools using WordPress. Now, I've heard from so many that, I don't do tech. I'm not good at tech. And my response is that you have to know enough to hire out. I do not design people's websites. That is not my business. But I know enough to help them get beyond the fear of tech because I do manage a lot of my own and do my own design on my websites. At least I can help others get beyond that. So you want to take advantage of being able to do some of those things right now. And in fact, you wouldn't want to take your car in knowing nothing about it. You're just going to pay whatever, or you're just going to tell them, just do whatever you want, just to make it, just do whatever. You want to equip yourself at least to understand, okay, so there's an engine light. What does that mean? Look up some things and be able to equip yourself. And this time in history, there is no better time than now to do this. Equip yourself. And if for no other reason, take some online courses to see how they're formatted. I have to be honest. Sometimes I have taken courses just to see how they're set up. I like to see what their format is. I want to see how they are competing in the market. A lot of those courses are not that expensive. And you will get ideas. And those ideas, you get one little idea, it can be worth a lot. And then you can start creating your own. But take this time to take some action. Choose to move forward and decide not to stay stuck. Number 3, use this opportunity to change or pivot. Now, this is a big one too. This is a great time to change or pivot. If you ever wanted to do something else, now is the time. And discover what people need. In fact, I have revised some of my material and even some of these podcast episodes, just like the one I am doing today. This was not planned when I was batch recording 6 weeks ago. This was not planned. But I have revised some of my material to speak to what is super relevant right now. I'm seeing some of these needs, and I'm approaching some of those tech issues I normally don't go deep on, such as website design. But I'm finding there is a need, and there's a need for connection. Now, I am an introvert. I readily admit this. I'm an introvert that is an intentional extrovert. I come alive when I get in front of a group and I'm able to be on a stage. But basically I go back to my introvert life. I get a lot of energy from being by myself and doing my projects. But I've planned Zoom happy hours. I've been doing those weekly for about 3 weeks now, or a little bit more. And they've been a blast because now I'm seeing new people connecting and enjoying each other. And actually, it's expanding some of their business. That is so very exciting to me. And that is something I had not planned on continuing. I had put one of those on the calendar when I was planning the 3 months, my first quarter. But I wasn't going to think about doing this every single week, but everybody wanted to do it again. So this is an opportunity to change or pivot. I'm also revising some of my an online course coming up just to be a lot more relevant with a new way to do business. So again, we've got that number 1, identify your fear and visualize it. Put that little hairy monster on there. Choose to move forward and then use this opportunity to change or pivot. Now, number 4 is to get the training you need and you want. I put want in there for a reason, and you will hear why. It's another commitment. It's very tempting to sink down and say you might as well quit, retire, and you're not relevant anymore. This is a good enough time as any, just to totally quit. And in fact, this is what many women at the halftime of their lives are saying and thinking. That's why I'm so passionate about helping others reinvent and restart this second half of life. And maybe they feel they're too old or they're not relevant enough. And looking in the mirror might make you feel that way as you feel you see those smile lines deepen and your hair is a bit thinner. And in fact, it's so hard not to be super critical when you are watching yourself on video, thinking, oh, I look older than I did like 10 years ago. Well, of course you do. That's just the way it is. You know, paint the house a little bit, I say, and go on with life. So, but you are not too old. In fact, we need your experience. We need your enthusiasm. We need your personality. We need your uniqueness. We need you. And part of the reason people have a hard time moving forward is there is fear to reinvent, fear that you won't be taken seriously. I have faced this in my life, even though I have done some amazing things, especially in the music field. I have those fears that people aren't really going to take me serious. They're going to start comparing me with everybody else. I'm not going to be good enough. That is a lie. You are unique. Fear that you can't keep up or fear that you can't learn. Well, stop it. You can learn. Yes, it does. You might take you longer. There are such inspiring stories. All you have to do is look right around you to hear about some of those inspiring stories of people with ADHD, with people that are dyslexic. They have overcome many obstacles, and they have done it. Don't feel like you cannot do it. And don't be afraid to spend the money to learn and to grow. Do that wisely, spend wisely, and plan your time wisely, but move ahead. Get the training you need and want. I put that word want in there because sometimes you don't know what you need until you really pursue some of the things that you want to do as well. So that's an important part of this process. If you have this desire you've wanted to do for a long time, hey, start taking some baby steps and pursuing it. This is the time to do that. And then number 5, I have to put this in, even though we've talked a little bit about moving ahead, is really taking action. I put that there because people write down their goals. They say what they're going to do and all of that, but they don't put it on the calendar. And if it's not down on that calendar, if it's not scheduled, that's a well-known principle. It will not get done. And this principle really relates to the current sequestration. That is a very hard word to say 5 times in a row, by the way. You can try it. But don't let the fear hold you back from your travel dreams, from your business dreams, from your relationship dreams. Our world will look different, but we still have our freedoms unless we let others take it away from us. because we're fearful. Unless we let them just tell us, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. We have the freedoms. Look at the facts and do your own research and make sure that you are equipped, well equipped, to make a logical decision. And again, our country was founded upon those freedoms and fought very hard for those freedoms. And I encourage you, as we go ahead, don't be afraid to now live in freedom. And I'm urging you in this particular episode to do some soul searching and to see what you're really afraid of overall. And we're all on the same train. None of us are going to live forever on this earth. We know that. And if you take away the focusing on the unhealthy fear of dying, at least eternally, you will be free. We never know what's right around the corner. And how many have you known that have been in a tragic accident, a terror attack, 9/11, what we went through, just random. And this virus has struck us like nothing else in our history has. And the unknowns, they do really scare us. And they're amplified by movies like Contagion. That movie, that was kind of really eerie. I did not want to watch it when I saw the previews. I thought, this is too close to home. But the theory of this goes back to a book that came out in 1994, The Coming Plague by Laurie Jarrett. Or Garrett, maybe Garrett, but it was really creepy thinking, this has been kind of forecast or thought about for a long time. But we're really living through it right now. But some of that is fiction. So make sure that you are equipping yourself. Take the time to journal. I'm a strong believer in journaling. Take time to write out your thoughts, write out your fears, and face them. They're those hungry little monsters. And go through all of these steps, because I want you to come out of this free from healthy fear. And you're free to take opportunity for a new way to do your business, expanded travel, living out some of your second half goals, and the love of living. Because when you're not afraid of dying and you know where you're going, you can be free to live. I hope you've enjoyed this. Write a review, please. I would love your reviews and your comments, and share this with people that you feel would enjoy it and need it right now. And I look forward to our next episodes together. Deborah Johnson with goalsforyourlife.com, womenathalftime.com. Thank you for joining us on Women at Halftime. Visit goalsforyourlife.com or womenathalftime.com for many more resources, downloads, and programs, or to get in touch with me. I'd love it if you leave me a review and tell your friends. So until next time, this is Deborah Johnson signing off.